You're listening to the girl in the girly dress who loved drug dealers, a comedic memoir with business wisdom by me. This is chapter 1, the first weed man I ever fell for. I really need you to understand how unassuming I was. Like, dresses, soft voice, polite, the kind of girl people assume has never jaywalked, let alone dated a man whose phone buzzes a little too often and whose schedule is oddly flexible in the middle of the day. So when I say the first weed man I ever fell for changed my brain chemistry a little, emotionally and entrepreneurially, I'm not exaggerating. I just didn't know it at the time. The funny part, I met him at a church conference. Not a club, not through shady friends, not in some dramatic story I'd have to lie about later. A church conference. I was 17, still living at home, still following rules, still being the good girl everyone expected me to be. He was my age, another kid in the crowd of young believers, trying to look interested during the sessions, sneaking glances around the room the way teenagers do when they're bored. We talked, casual, easy, nothing deep. But he mentioned he lived in San Francisco, and when I told him I was moving there for college soon, he said, "Hit me up when you get there." So we exchanged numbers, and I tucked that number away like a secret I didn't know I'd use. By the time I actually moved to San Francisco, I had just turned 18, freshly graduated from high school, ready to burst out of the strict Christian home I'd grown up in like a plant that had outgrown its pot. I couldn't wait to experience life, real life, the kind that wasn't supervised, the kind where I got to make my own decisions, even the questionable ones. So I called him. He answered like he'd been expecting me. His voice was relaxed, unbothered, like he had all the time in the world, even though I'd learn later his days were never actually slow. "Where you staying?" he asked. "Daly City?" He laughed. Do you know how to take the bus?" I didn't. Not really. Not in San Francisco, where public transportation felt like a maze designed to humble outsiders. He walked me through it, step by step, which bus, which direction, where to transfer, how to know when I'd arrived. "You coming to Hunter's Point?" he said. "Text me when you close." Hunter's Point. I didn't know what that meant yet. Didn't know the weight that neighborhood carried. Didn't know I was about to take a long bus ride into a part of the city my mother would have prayed over if she'd known. But I went. The bus ride felt endless. I sat by the window, watching the city shift and change as we moved further from Daly City. The neighborhoods transformed, the energy transformed, the faces on the bus transformed, and I just watched, curious, nervous, excited. I wasn't scared. I should have been, maybe, but I wasn't. I was intrigued. When I finally got off the bus and texted him, he met me on the corner. And that's when I really saw him for the first time. He was shorter than me. I noticed that immediately, not in a judgmental way, just in a factual way. I was used to being the smaller one, but he carried himself like height had nothing to do with presence. He wore an oversized black hoodie, baggy jeans, clean shoes. His hands were in his pockets, but his posture was relaxed, confident, and his smile, God, his smile, was beautiful. Warm, genuine, the kind of smile that made you feel like you were exactly where you were supposed to be. "You made it," he said, dapping me up like we were old friends. "Told you I would." He laughed. "Come on." He brought me to his apartment, small, lived in. Not messy, but not trying to impress anyone either. It smelled faintly like weed and air freshener, a combination I'd come to recognize as the signature scent of this entire era of my life. "My mom's here," he said casually. "She cool." And then he introduced me to her. She was beautiful, and that's the first thing I noticed. Beautiful in a way that felt wise, experienced, like she'd seen things and survived them and hadn't let them dim her entirely. She was half-dressed, comfortable in her own space, unbothered by the presence of her son's guest. Later, he would tell me she was a prostitute, not with shame, not with judgment, just matter-of-factly, like it was information I should have, context. And in that moment, standing in their living room, I didn't know how to process that. So I just smiled politely and said, "Nice to meet you." She smiled back. "Y'all trying to smoke?" I blinked. He looked at me. "You smoke?" "No," I admitted. "Never." He shrugged. You want to try? And here's the thing. I'd been taught my whole life that this was the moment, the fork in the road, the decision that would define whether I was good or bad, righteous or fallen, saved or lost. But standing there, it didn't feel that dramatic. It just felt curious. Yeah, I said, I'll try. His mom offered to smoke us out. She was generous like that, unbothered by sharing, by giving, by making space for her son and his friend. We need a swisher, she said. Come on. So the three of us walked to the liquor store on the corner, a small spot, the kind of place where everyone knows everyone, where transactions happen with nods instead of words. His mom walked in like she owned the place, and somehow we walked out with a swisher and snacks for free. I didn't understand it at the time. I thought maybe she just had a tab, maybe she was cool with the owner, maybe it was some kind of loyalty program I didn't know about. Later, he told me the truth. Nothing's free, he said, simple, unbothered. She had to suck his dick for that. And I didn't know what to do with that information. I didn't judge her. I didn't judge him. I just absorbed it. And this was a different world, different rules, different currency. And I was learning. We went back to the apartment and smoked with her. She rolled the blunt with ease, practiced hands, no wasted movement. She lit it, hit it, passed it to him. He hit it, passed it to me. I coughed hard. They both laughed, the way people laugh when they remember their first time. You good, he said. Just breathe. I tried again, coughed again, but less this time. And then I felt it, not all at once, gradually, like my body was softening from the inside out, like someone had turned down the volume on all the noise in my head. I felt calm, I felt curious, I felt present, and we talked, laughed. I don't even remember what about, just that it felt easy, comfortable, like I'd known them longer than a few hours. And then I got sleepy, so sleepy. You can crash here, he said, pointing to the couch, and I did. I woke up hours later, disoriented, cotton-mouthed, and the room darker than it had been before. I checked my phone. It was late, too late. Shit, I said, sitting up too fast. I gotta catch the bus home. He didn't hesitate. I'll ride with you. That's when I noticed the backpack. He slung it over his shoulder like it was part of his body, casual, unbothered. And he pulled on that oversized black hoodie, the one I'd seen him in earlier, and suddenly I understood why it was so big. It wasn't fashion, it was function. Later, much later, he'd tell me about the gun, how he carried it everywhere, how the hoodie concealed it, how the backpack held everything he needed to move through his day without being caught slipping. But in that moment, I just thought he was being a gentleman, riding the bus with me, making sure I got home safe. The bus ride back was long, quiet. The city at night felt different than it had during the day, softer, more intimate. He sat next to me, backpack on his lap, hoodie pulled up slightly. We didn't talk much, just existed next to each other, and I remember thinking, I like this. Not the weed, not the adventure, not even the rebellion. I liked him. I liked how he moved through the world with freedom I'd never seen before, how he had his own rhythm, his own rules, his own version of success that didn't require anyone's approval. He told me about his day, how sweet it had been, how he'd made good money, how things were moving. And I listened, absorbed, studied. I didn't know it yet, but I was watching someone run a business, not a traditional one, not a legal one, but a business nonetheless. He had inventory, customers, a schedule, risk management, reputation, and he handled it with a calm I'd never seen in the adults around me who worked real jobs. Before I'd even moved to San Francisco, my mom had told me not to hang out with him. I don't know how she knew. Mother's intuition, maybe. Or maybe she'd seen something in the way I'd mentioned him, too casually, too carefully. Don't go looking for trouble, she'd said, and I'd nodded, smiled, said, I won't. And then I did it anyway, because I wasn't looking for trouble. I was looking for freedom, and he had it. Looking back now, I can see it clearly. He was the gateway. Not to drugs, though yes, technically that too, but to a different way of seeing the world, to men who didn't ask permission, to ambition that didn't require approval, to confidence that wasn't performance. He was the first one who showed me that success doesn't always look like what you were taught, that discipline doesn't always wear a suit, that hustle doesn't always have a business card. And while I didn't stay in his world, didn't stay with him, I took something with me. That first lesson in branding, not logos, not colors, not social media, presence, the way you show up, the way you carry yourself, the way people feel around you. He never had to announce anything. His energy did all the talking, and without realizing it, I was studying him, watching how he spoke to people, how he listened, how he didn't rush conversations just to prove he was busy. Meanwhile, I was falling, slowly, quietly, against my better judgment, because of course I was. He made me feel soft without making me feel small, seen without being exposed, protected without being controlled. And for a girl who had spent most of her life being the good one, that felt intoxicating. That night, the night I smoked for the first time, slept on his couch, rode the bus home with him at my side, was the beginning of everything. Not the beginning of a relationship exactly. The beginning of a shift, a crack in the foundation of everything I thought I knew about myself, about men, about what I wanted, about who I was allowed to become. I didn't know it then, but I know it now. That was the night I stopped being just the church girl and started becoming the woman who could hold contradictions without breaking, the woman who could be soft and curious and still survive rooms she wasn't raised for, the woman who would one day build a business from lessons learned in the most unexpected places. But for now, I was just 18, on a bus, next to a boy with a beautiful smile and a gun in his hoodie, going home, changed. Thank you for listening. If this chapter resonated with you, I'd love to hear how it made you feel. You can share your thoughts in the comments. And if you'd like to support this work, you can pre-order the book using the link in the comments.